Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Inez, Monica, Wendy, Jennifer, Kathleen, and Abby for more on how they've grown and been showing up in the past couple of months. So Inez, I want to start with you. What's the best manifestation you've had over the past few months?
I think one of the best ones was manifesting space in my diary. I mean, as a management consultant, my status symbol is being stressed and being busy. And actually achieving wonderful results with not so being stressed and having more space in my diary is absolutely amazing.
That is amazing. I love that. I was just having that conversation with someone the other day. We are very big here on creating more money in less time. So that's awesome. I love it. Monica, how about you? What's your favorite manifestation over the past few months?
I think my favorite one was when our taxes changed.
Yes.
We had done our taxes and then they just changed and we got more money. Also, just money keeps showing up in our account from the federal government, and it's just been really fun to just be like, oh, there's more. So,
yay, that's awesome. Abby, what's your favorite manifestation over the past couple months?
My favorite was COVID grants that I got for my business because it was unexpected because it had been applied for ages ago, and it's traditionally been quite a difficult one to get, and there's lots of kind of issues surrounding that over here with getting help, and all of a sudden it just kind of came out of nowhere after months, and it just at the right time, just at the absolute right second that I needed it. And yeah, that was pretty cool actually. Yeah, that's awesome. That felt like the first one I hadn't had to work for. Do you know what I mean? It felt like
like it literally just showed up.
Yeah, because I just asked and let it go and it showed up. Yeah.
Yay.
That was pretty cool.
That is very cool. I love it. Jennifer, how about you? What's been your favorite manifestation over the past couple months?
Kind of along the same lines. I had been putting energy into getting the right people in our organization to review our salaries to align them to others at our level. And we kind of settled on this way of presenting to the head of our team for a discussion. But it was almost the same day, right before we sent the final email, we received an announcement saying that HR is looking at where our team should be salary wise. So it was fun because it was unexpected on the one hand, but such a direct response to something I asked for.
That's awesome. I love it. And so easy. I love that. We're all about easy in this group. Kathleen, we did talk about this last interview, but what's been your favorite manifestation over the past few months?
My favorite manifestation has been booking a regular role in a big up-and-coming television series, which is a huge deal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it.
And can I just add that the day before I found out, and I had auditioned for this role like 3 months before Christmas, and I found out early March, but the day before I was driving in my car and I was thinking about abundance and everything, and I looked up, and it was the same route that I've taken many times throughout the weeks, and I looked up, and right in front of me was this huge sign that said, an abundance of opportunities and possibilities. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Clock that. And then the next day I got the job.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I didn't realize that was the day before when I'd heard that story before. So that is so awesome. And also such good reminder that when we start looking for that evidence, we start looking for that everything is telling us it's working, we see the things that we haven't been able to see before. So thank you for sharing that. It's awesome. Wendy, how about you? What has been your biggest or best manifestation so far?
Well, my biggest manifestation, I'm recently engaged, and
Yay.
we're we're not old, but we're older than the average bride and groom, first marriages, and we just assumed that we'd pay for ourselves for our wedding, and that was fine with us. But my parents, just recently told us they really wanted to contribute $10,000, which and it was right after I moved from the $1,000 manifestation program to the 10K. And I was like, wow, so fast.
Right there it is.
Yep.
Yay. Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Talked about a lot of these. Jennifer, so some coaching that you had said really clicked was when I talked about describing a story means you stay there versus the question is really opening for that answer. Will you tell us a little bit more about that and how that's playing out in your life and your experience with that?
Yeah, so the one thing I heard on a call and I think about all the time now is when you said when you describe something instead of asking a question, your brain stays in that situation that you're describing. But if you ask a question, your brain is open for an answer, and I love that. So for me, I mean, this is like kind of like a funny example, but at night, I could either be like, I don't know why we have this fight every night at bedtime. It's so ridiculous. Nothing's working. Versus how can I put my kids to bed easily? And just even rephrasing the question that way, it opens up so many possibilities for answers instead of being stuck in that story.
Yes. Oh, what a great example. I think moms out there are probably going to be thanking you as they listen to this right now. Amazing. Monica, some coaching that we did and things that you said had made a really impact was how we methodically went through your 10K list and your feeling list. Do you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so part of the program is making a list of, when you manifest $10,000, where are you going to go? What are you going to do with it? And the process of like taking it step by step by step and then going back and saying, actually, that's something that you would really do or not really do. And is that something you would do anyway? And just kind of going through that step by step by step was really helpful because it was like a deeper level of realization of what I truly wanted, what's important to me, and things like that. Yeah, because otherwise, I had read Manifest K and done it, partway on my own a couple years ago, and it was just like jot down a quick list, and that was a lot of like, oh well, I should do this, or I think somebody would think that this is the right answer, and this was more of like, hey, what's real and what's true. Yeah, that was really cool.
I love that. Amazing. And it's so that getting clear is so important to the process rather than sort of just that general list. I love it. Let's see. Kathleen, talk to us about celebrating all money and how that's helped you shift your story.
Well, it's I think it was we were coaching through this with in the same time as the neutralizing debt. Mm-hmm. So I can choose where to put the focus, and the more sort of abundant place to put that is towards all money coming in, and even small amounts. And that's what's so great about the group too. Like someone says, oh, I found a dime, and it's like, yeah, it's a celebration. And it doesn't feel weird. Like, it's like, no, we can celebrate those things because, if you're celebrating a dime, it, comes up to $1, that comes up to 10, to 100, then hundreds and thousands, like, so I think it also creates an opening in your whole system. As opposed to shutting it off, you're opening up to you're saying yes. You're in a receiving mode for more and more and more to come in. So yeah, putting the focus in that direction is way more fun and more pleasant. Like it's just more pleasant.
Yes.
You have a better day all around.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Wendy, I know that you were listening to a recording and I was talking, giving some coaching about how either decision, like it will be best for their future self or it won't. And so tell us how that coaching has helped you with making decisions and making them easier.
Yeah, it kind of comes back to my ability to trust everything, which is what I'm really, ahaing about all the time. But basically in the call, she was deciding between whether or not she should like hold on to her business or let it go, and she couldn't decide which was the right. And I could identify, like I'm a self-employed, and identify with a lot of decisions that I would like stress out, lose sleep over, and ultimately not really have that much control over it. But I would just fret that I was going to make the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
But you coached her through and said, well, it doesn't matter, because whatever you choose, as long as you know it, that your future self ends up in a good place, then you can't make the wrong choice. Yeah. So as long as it feels true to you, and you focus on the fact that you know where you're going is a good place, it doesn't matter which decision you make ultimately, because you are always going to make the right choice if you stay true to yourself. So that was kind of like a letting go of control thing, that I was like, oh, okay. You don't have to stress that much about every little decision, because it's going to work out in your best good.
Yes. I love that. And it's true, the more we let go of those and we trust that end result, the quicker we get there and the less we have to worry about it. Jennifer, how do you know that it's happening?
Well, so when I put attention on what I want rather than feeding the energy of what I'm afraid of, it feels different. It feels amazing. And I know it's happening based on that. And the cool thing is seeing evidence of something close, or even getting things that bring me closer to what's on my list. And I'm finding that when things are fun and easy, um, I know it's happening, and I don't have to keep revisiting because I already know it's happening. So I don't have to figure out the how, and I don't have to control the timing, but I'll still get what I want. And that's kind of I like that. And it's just easier. It's a lot less work.
Yes, it's awesome. Very cool. Kathleen, how do you know it's happening?
Well, getting that role was just huge. It's just there. It's huge proof. But I think it was Abby that was saying this, all the little daily things that happen, um the money coming in on a daily basis, and just like the general feeling of trust and contentment and happiness. It's clear that it's going to happen if I follow that route. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. And Wendy, how do you know it's happening?
Kind of along the same lines. I really have felt a shift in my ability to not stress out so much, and to really trust the process and catch my, what I would call, thought distortions a lot better. And that's a lot of evidence to me, because I know like that, instead of focusing on what was wrong with me, which is what I used to do in the past, I'm now just focusing on the story I want to create.
Awesome. Yay. Monica, I know one of the things that you've grown through, overcome in the last couple of months has really been that feeling of not good enough, or that something is for other people. Will you talk to us about that?
Sure. Yeah, that was kind of an old tape running through my head, is that like, that's for other people. Other people can have successful businesses. I'm just a little old me, I'm nothing special. And that's not the way that I talk to myself anymore. I know that I have something special that's different from everybody else. And when I'm able to kind of think into the future of this, the idea of the future self and the future Monica that's out there, like, she doesn't think that, she's doing awesome things that are just her thing, and not comparing herself to other people. And doing great and making money. So it's fun to look. Yeah, fun to look to the future kind of and look back instead of, I don't know, making stories in my head.
Yeah, instead of making stories about what's possible or not, going to that possible place and looking back and being like, oh, she doesn't. Yeah, she definitely doesn't think that. I don't need to think that anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I love it. Amazing. Abby, your big growth ties into that a little bit too, like growing through feelings of not being worthy.
Yes, that's been a big part of my story, particularly my kind of entrepreneurial story, is that I don't know, I wasn't good enough, or I didn't deserve it, or I don't know, I can't really articulate it, but it was definitely there all the time that wasn't for me, even though it's for lots of other people.
Okay.
And I think at work, I was always very kind of ambitious, and I went up the ladder really quickly and everything, and that was great. But I kind of felt I didn't deserve it doing it on my own, and that's been a big shift, that I've taken other people succeeding not as competition but as evidence.
Yes.
And I think that I put in my thing that the biggest evidence, every time I need to see it, I see somebody like women and so and so in their 40s becomes a millionaire, because that's a massive thing of mine. I should have started this 20 years ago, and that's stupid, isn't it? If I did it 20 years ago, I wouldn't have the career I'd had to be an entrepreneur. It's totally logically backwards. But yes, I've shifted how I see that. Not, oh, it's not fair, they've managed to do it. It's like, that's evidence that it's there, it's possible. And that's been a big shift that's, affected my whole life, not just on this particular journey.
Yeah.
And it's again, not going back and dissecting why I feel like I do, just going, well, I don't anymore. And that's enough.
Yes. That's awesome. And Inez, how has your growth through, that scared relationship with money that you talked about last interview to this joyful relationship, how is that impacting your everyday?
It's impacting me that I'm more relaxed, more energetic, more joyful. I enjoy picking up a dime on the floor and finding small pieces of money and doing my joyful dance. I have my feeling of abundance which is joy. I see it everywhere. It lifts up my whole day and just provides me with so much more energy, so that I'm not, let's say, pulled to or pushed towards doing stuff for my future business, but I pull myself towards these things, and I just absolutely love it.
Hey, that's awesome. Jennifer, we've talked in both this interview and the last interview a little bit about trust over control, but will you share this and how it's applying to the selling of a house that you're getting ready to sell?
Yeah, I'm trusting more without having to control the how. And with the house, me and my husband don't necessarily agree on a sale price to list it for. But I've asked the universe for a certain amount, and I feel like I don't need to fight with my husband or call the realtor or tell my husband what to say. And so I've kind of put that aside, and I've been putting my attention on what I want instead of giving energy to everything that could go wrong, or what if we don't get enough money for it and stuff like that. And I'm finding that it's actually fun in that new space, not knowing the outcome or how it's going to happen, and that's okay, to not know. And I've shifted from almost like a desperate need to control the outcome to just having fun and welcoming opportunities.
That's awesome. I love it. And that really ties into some growth that Kathleen, you've had, which is your mind is just naturally going to that easy, uplifting, abundant place. Will you tell us more about that?
Yeah, well, I think that has to do with like the trusting and well, first of all, awareness, bringing awareness to what my thoughts are doing and those sort of neural pathways that I've created in my mind, and knowing that I can like create new ones, and choosing to have a different outlook on things. And the more and more I practice it, which is daily, it becomes a natural way of living, which is, like I said before, it's just much more pleasant and relaxed and peaceful. And yeah, like, why not? Why not have that outlook?
Yes. Right. And so Wendy, I know you've really overcome this constant lack. And so what has that been opening up for you in your life?
Yeah, I have, when what Inez said about the fear of money, I had never framed it that way for myself, but it just kind of clicked for me just now that I have that too. And then that ties into my lack. Like, it's always been a point of stress for me. And I would almost constantly be thinking about whether I had enough money to pay my bills, even though I always do. But I would be like doing calculations in my head anytime I had quiet time. And since I've started this program, I've really, I've caught myself and shifted it to be like, you've always had enough. When have you ever not had enough? And that's been really powerful for me because I feel way more relaxed when I'm not constantly doing math.
Yes. Yay. That's awesome. I love it. As we kind of wrap up today, there's a couple of questions for me in the queue, which I'm going to get to. But before, I just wanted to open it up and see if there's anything that you guys wanted to share that you didn't get to share, or anything in your hearts or minds that you feel like, I got to say that today. And if not, that's cool too. Inez?
I have a small story of evidence, and I was asked by a university in Munich to speak in front of their students virtually, obviously, and the assistant calling me said, well, you can talk, you can pick any topic. And I was thinking, leadership or digital transformation, all these sort of management topics. And then I said, well, I'm going to ask students what they want to hear from me. And they said, well, actually, we would love to hear, how do you get promoted within the corporate world? And as I'm currently ramping up my new business exactly on this topic, I just thought, of course they want to hear from me about the topic that I'm going to build my business around. This is just absolutely brilliant.
Yes. Oh, that's such good evidence. Amazing. I love it. Thank you for sharing. All right. Let's jump in. So Abby, you had put this question to me. How do you not slip into the old story when it's not happening? Go ahead. Oh.
No, it was just I said about, and it could be, I'm kind of nearly there with the feel the feelings.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's, when you're trying to work through stuff, it's trying not to use your old story as the guide.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
If you've got something you need to talk about or anything, and I'm trying to be really conscious to talk as my future self.
I love it. And so you're right. Yeah, it does tie into to the feeling the feelings, right? And so often, if we're not feeling the feelings, often we default to telling the old story because that's how we feel. And it's, we're trying to explain. If we're trying to stay out of feeling the feelings, we're very often telling an old story, which is keeping us there. So even if you find yourself, if any situation you find yourself in, keep doing what you're doing. And the thing that I would say is always check, like, is there something to be felt first before I try and change this? Or if I can't believe that it is happening, like, what am I feeling? I'm sad, angry, frustrated. Let me go feel that and then come back and tell my new story. But really separating story from feelings and explanation and all of our choices from feelings, and letting feelings be their own thing that get to be felt separate of any story or anything else.
Just let the raw kind of emotion do its thing.
Yeah, let the raw emotion move through you and then choose. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And Kathleen, I know that you had one more, but we can do that one first. Do you want to jump into that question first?
Sure. Well, my other question, I think you pretty much covered it with Abby, but I do have a
Awesome.
question that came up today, and
Yeah.
it might seem like coaching 101 or manifest 10K 101, but I think hopefully it'll resonate with some people, and I just need some clarity, and I'm really trying to formulate a question here. My friend posted a bike for sale on Facebook, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful bike, and I wasn't necessarily looking to buy a new bike.
Yeah.
But it's like the look that I want, that I've been, sort of, I guess, manifesting slowly, but I
Yeah.
wasn't looking to get a bike. But anyway, she posted it, and I'm gonna go see it today. But it's $800, and I wasn't planning on buying an $800 bike. So I guess my question is, what do I do if I fall in love with this bike?
And so I love this question because while it feels like it's like, I don't know, like basic LOA or manifest 10K, I don't know that it is. I think this is a higher level because um what we have to separate, like, this is where inspired action comes from. The inspired action of like, this is the moment to buy the bike versus I want this bike.
Yes.
And so you can fall in love with the bike and know that means, oh, like I got to touch the bike that I want. I got closer to what I want. Now I'm even clearer. Like you said, you weren't in the market for a bike, but this is kind of what's been on your mind, and you've gotten to touch that and you celebrate, like, okay, now I actually know what it feels like to put my hands on the handlebars and to sit down and to stand up and to ride it around and to turn it, right? And separate that wanting, like, oh yes, this is what I want and I do love it, and own and celebrate that now you know that, versus the wanting, and really trust inspiration. Like, separate all of those things. Like, is it inspired action to invest in it today, right? Like, and that comes when there's, I think, the way that, a lot of times in purchases, and we may have to coach through this a couple times as you go through different experiences, but with investments, it's generally like the money leaves your pocket without thinking about it. I always say, like, you pull out your credit card, like you're typing it in before you even realize you took out your credit card, when something is an inspired investment, versus wanting it and being like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy it. And it really being about the buying it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. It does, because it does make sense, because I do think that my old story is a lot about wanting and worrying about the buying.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm in this situation of trusting that the bike will be mine if it is mine, and if it's not, it's not. But I'm also in a situation where I'm like, well, I will be able to afford the bike in a few months. Like, I could,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, I could pay for it now, or like pay it off or whatever. But is like, I'm just not sure if that's necessarily the way either. Like, yeah, there's still
Well,
a
so
little bit of
that's all decisions versus inspiration. So those details don't matter if something's inspired, right? Like, if it's a hell yes and almost you can't say no, right? Or you do say no and you have to go back, which is always a big check of inspiration, is if you can say no to something and it keeps coming up, is when you're like, oh man, maybe this is inspired, right? Is like, if you're ever questioning that, listeners, anyone on here, say no to inspiration and keep saying no, and it's what keeps coming back, right, is generally what's inspired, because it doesn't go away. When it's just about buying in the moment, that energy goes away, right? Versus, oh yeah, like this feels good, I want this. And so really separate the decision making so that you can feel the inspiration. It's not a how do I get it, like, oh, I could get it and pay it off. It's really being in that moment. Is it inspired? Is like, can I just feel myself buying the bike? Like, if I get out of the way, what's happening? And if I'm not thinking about the details, or I'm not thinking about how much I want it, what happens on its own?
Okay, that's really interesting, because with big purchases like that, and it's a bike, like I know that I'll use it. But with big purchases like that, I generally feel very satisfied when I do them. But there has been in the past the wanting.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the wanting overrides the actual thing in a way. So, okay,
Yes.
this is interesting. This is good.
Yeah. And
okay.
I don't think you're alone with that.
So you're right. Yeah. So just to be super clear on this, because I'm going to go see it tonight, you're saying just be inspired by like feeling it and being on it and riding it around and not worrying about the wanting or the having to have or the.
Yeah. And not necessarily be inspired, but let the purchase be like, open the door to let go of the analyzing of it and know, like, if inspiration hits, like, oh yeah, and like it's time to get it, like, you know that, and there's not a lot of thinking about it. There's no thinking about it. It's just like, yes, this is the hell yes today, versus thinking about the wanting and the analyzing and, oh, I could get it this way. Really being fully present in that moment. And am I supposed to buy this bike today?
Okay. Whew, that's an exercise.
Yeah. And if you get to a point where you question it, then default to no.
Okay.
Because you're probably used to saying yes, and we default to no. Again, it keeps coming back. And it's like, oh, anytime we say no to something that's inspired, it shows back up again. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
That's
yeah,
cool.
Thanks for asking that question. I'm excited. Anyone else have anything as we wrap up today? All right. Thank you all for sharing this moment in your journey with all of us and everyone who's listening and growing along with you. I sincerely appreciate it. Thank you all for listening, and make sure to come back and check out what's awesome next time in these ladies' lives. Bye.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction, Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to identify your current money story, go to identifyyourmoneystory.com.